Hello my eldritch citizens, and welcome to a special 3-part series where I examine a special gaming week for me, the week where I attained my first ever platinum trophy, and additionally both a co-op platinum and a tough Souls-like one to boot. To be sure, it wasn't my intention to platinum these games, but with a triumvirate of experienced trophy hunters twisting my arm, I decided to take up the challenge. And so, now I will be reviewing my experience, giving my own thoughts on the games, and whether I think they are worth your time to platinum. A platinum review, you could say. I will of course try to keep anything too spoilery from being included, even the older games. Before we begin, timestamps are in the description for each section, in case you want to skip to the end. But really, why wouldn't you want to keep listening to the silky, dulcet tones of my voice for as long as possible? Up first, and the game which popped my platinum cherry, so to speak,
Phrasing?
is Stellar Blade, the 2024 action-adventure game taking more than a sprinkling of inspiration from Nier Automata in its aesthetics, and other things. And Sekiro in terms of combat, as well as a myriad of other influences. The player takes control of protagonist Eve, part of the 7th Airborne Squad, sent on a mission to liberate Earth from the Naytiba, monstrous creatures that have either killed off or driven most of humanity into space. Her landing on planet Earth goes, well, poorly really, and her squad is all but wiped out quickly, leaving herself and friend Taki, who is clearly better than Eve in every way I won't hear otherwise, to fend off a large cojone'd Naytiba. Taki then sacrifices herself to save Eve, who is saved by Deus Ex Adam. And then the game truly begins, with my personal favourite area of this game. And this is a great place to start talking about the The game truly begins in Eidos 7, where the music and visuals of the ruinous city is a joy to behold. It does a great job of setting the tone and atmosphere of this biome of the game. In fact, the music is almost immaculate throughout Stellar Blade, which is a good thing if you intend to platinum this game, as you will find yourself exploring areas for quite some time, and the music for that area rarely changes. Personally, I didn't have a problem with it, as there are plenty of things to take your attention away from that, but know that it could be an issue for you. The only time I felt there was a misstep with the music was with the tone of one of the boss fights later in the game. I'll play a clip for you, and you'll no doubt understand why I think that. One quibble I do have is that a lot of the English voice acting is really quite flat, with little emotional weight or range, and this includes much of the main cast, not just the NPCs.
I'm Eve. What happened to you?
I can feel you.
Enya, are you alright? Enya.
Your sister sounds like a smart businesswoman.
The exception to this is Lily, who becomes the crew's bright and chipper engineer, who you go to upgrade Eve's equipment throughout the game.
This is more than just an upgrade. It's an evolution!
Visually, Stellar Blade is for the most part great, with a stellar amount of detail given to certain animations. I do find a couple of the areas in the game to be a little samey, notably the wasteland and the Great Desert, but there's a decent enough variety of zones in the rest of the game that it's not much of an issue. The game has 3 graphics modes to choose from: Performance mode, which runs at 1440p 60 frames per second, Resolution mode at 4K 30 FPS, and a Balanced mode, which is the one I used in my playthroughs. Balanced mode is the most interesting, as it renders between 1080p and 1440p, but uses, and I defer to Digital Foundry's great video on Stellar Blade here, temporal upscaling via reconstruction. So in some instances, the visuals can exceed the native 4K option. I don't really understand all that, and it doesn't bother me too much, but for you graphics nerds out there, it might matter. The combat looks great, especially once you have unlocked more abilities, and I rarely found there to be too much visual noise distracting me from a fight. Most importantly, as you'll be spending a lot of time with her, Eve is a looker, with a large number of costumes to collect, which itself is a trophy. At a certain point, you will also be able to change her hairstyles, so if you enjoy dressing up your battle vixens, this is definitely the game for you. All this leads me to conclude that should you decide to platinum Stellar Blade, the presentation of this game will not be the thing that deters you from completing your trophy hunting journey. Now, moving on to... The meat of this game is of course the combat, and it has some very satisfying combat indeed. Aside from the fairly standard light and heavy attacks, with a variety of combos available, Eve can of course block and dodge enemy attacks. Blocking doesn't prevent all damage however, so sometimes you will need to get out of dodge, and use the dodge mechanic. Get the timing right with both of these and you will get a perfect block or a perfect dodge, each accompanied by their own special effect. The game features a Sekiro-like posture bar, or pips. Most enemies have these, and each time you perfect block, one pip is removed. There are also some special attacks which will remove a pip. When there are no more pips, the enemy becomes off-balanced, and you can perform a retribution attack, or big damage. It might seem difficult, but once you get used to it, you'll land those perfect parries pretty often. And honestly, landing several perfect blocks in succession makes you feel like the battle angel Eve is. Eve can also gain a bunch of other skills for use in combat, including a DMC-like Devil Trigger mode, but I won't talk too much about that as it would be rather spoilery. This would probably be a good time then to introduce some special color-coded attacks that enemies can have. If you see a yellow flash, then the enemy is about to unleash an unblockable attack. Perfect dodges are, well, perfect for countering these, but require the correct timing. A blue flash means an enemy is about to do a fatal attack, usually some kind of grab or area of effect that does big damage, or might even finish you off entirely. These can't be blocked, but hit forward and dodge at the same time, and Eve teleports behind the enemy, leaving them vulnerable. Finally, a purple flash, similar to the blue, but instead of pressing forward, you press back and dodge. This leaves an enemy's juicy, glowing weak point exposed, and it's time to start shooting. Did I mention Eve gets a gun? No? Well, she does, along with a good handful of different ammo types to boot. There's a good amount to get your teeth into, though I can see some people being put off by the fact that a lot of the cool stuff is locked away until a bit later in the game. There are a couple of trophies relating to the parrying and dodging respectively, but honestly, you will easily get these trophies simply by playing the game. Even an ancient cosmic horror such as myself could acquire them easily. Stellar Blade certainly won't be a walk in the park for the majority of players, but it's not so difficult that most people will struggle to platinum it. A couple of boss fights are tough on normal difficulty, and you don't have to play on hard mode to earn a trophy. Now, with that said, on to... Yes, on to the important part for you platinum hunters. The trophies in this game are probably what most experienced trophy hunters expect. Each big boss has a trophy for beating it, and there are trophies for each of the game's endings. As I mentioned, there are some trophies for the parry and dodge mechanics, and a bunch of collectible trophies, most notably collecting canned beverages. I guess Eve wants to start her Only Cans page or something. The trophy guide on PSNprofiles has the difficulty for this platinum at a 4 out of 10, though unless you are planning to play New Game Plus on hard mode with the skin suit like I did, you will have little problem getting this one. And even then, it won't be that bad. And if you have PS Plus, you can use cloud storage to make this only a 2 playthrough platinum run. I would give Stellar Blade 4 out of 5 stellar platinum peaches of approval for platinuming. So strap into that tight-fitting diving suit, and may your memories live on forever. So, does anyone know where Eve stores these hypercells?
Great.
Inquiring minds must know.
Hurry! Come on!
All right, all right.
Hurry!
It's the first time I've ever got to do it. It's the first time I've got to endure before you.
The grief, the grief.
Resident Evil 5.